Hey, babe. Welcome back to my channel. 90% of the business owners that I've met do not know the healthy structure that a business should have, and specifically their business. They think they have everything together, months pass, profits grow, then profits shrink, then they blame it on the market. But in reality, it's because the company structure isn't resilient. And in this episode, we're going to walk through some company structures, some that are more plausible and some that are a little more difficult to achieve, but I'm sure you can if you just focus on it. Before we get into it, hi, my name is Sorina. I'm a brand strategist and I help companies grow their profit margins without building new assets and make their business scalable and sellable. I've helped family companies, bootstrap very small companies, and larger companies with a board and middle management streamline their marketing, their operations, and basically make more money. This video is going to be unscripted, and I will just show you some company structures off my laptop. By the end of it, you'll have a little more clarity on which type of company you're running and which structure to strive for. Because you see, more or less these are standardized, but they can also be highly customized according to what it is you deliver and how you deliver it, whether it's a product or a service. We are here in sunny Dubai, which isn't really sunny right now because I think there's a sandstorm in Business Bay, which I think is very fitting to talk about your business. I've seen many types of companies running here, um, really big companies, really small companies, lean companies that work really well, and bloated companies that nobody really knows where they're headed. I hope that's not you, but if that is you, there is a link below that you can access to download a free business clarity assessment tool, and maybe you can even work with me as well. Anyway, let's get into it. I will begin with the best case scenario of a business that is both scalable and sellable. We have the company structure with the color coding is for a board, for management, for regular employees in operation, and for B2C customers. So we should focus a little bit on the management structure. We have a board, these guys sitting at a table, and they're in contact with a general manager. They're not in direct contact with the general manager because that would be inefficient. They have like a secretary that keeps track of all the board meetings and all of the decisions and communicates these to the general manager. The board supplies the numbers, which are objectives and key results and key performance indicators, budget allocated, desired revenue and profit margin. And the manager in exchange gives a narrative. What exactly is happening? How are the operations going? Where are the bottlenecks? In order for the board itself to properly calculate the numbers. Now let's get into it. In a healthy situation, we have the so-called middle management. We have somebody in charge of sales. We have somebody in charge of finance, the CFO. We have somebody in charge with tech. And by tech, here I mean the product itself. the product or service itself. The complexities of fulfillment are the responsibility of this guy, the CTO. And of course, we have marketing. Keep in mind that sales and marketing are two very different things. Marketing means research and surveys and proper communication, while sales are just, sales. Giving somebody an offer, pushing somebody a little over the edge, offering some stuff on the back end, low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket. This is all the sales process, which is a pretty complex thing if you do it properly. That's why it has nothing to do with marketing. Marketing doesn't speak to your customer directly unless they already are in the system, they already are paying customers, and they are interested in the feedback in order to better enhance the communication for future prospects. Right. So, let's say you have a bulk of people who are kind of interested in what you have to offer. They go into your pipeline and they interact in some form with somebody who is called a setter. A setter sets appointments, takes all the data, and either through a call or through mailing, kind of gets the prospect excited about it. Also, the setter should qualify the prospects to see that they can, in fact, afford the program, the product, or the service, and they are in the proper moment to do so. After that, some of these people qualify and they go through what is called the closing process, speaking with the sellers themselves. Here, the sellers revert to, I wouldn't say tactics, but they present the product, they present the benefits, they provide a narrative that fits the prospect with the product itself, and then they close. Closing means a contract and an invoice paid. So some of them go into the program, become customers. And obviously, they give some money, and the money itself is managed by finance. Then they go through the fulfillment, which makes them in direct contact with the tech team. Under no circumstances are they to complain to either somebody on the sales team or somebody on the finance team. They're doing two completely different things and they need the peace and quiet to do their proper jobs. Fulfillment is done by the tech team. After they're done or during the process, if they are recurring, the marketing team is in direct contact with the tech team through management. This way, the marketing team knows what the value proposition of the product or service is in order to better frame it for future prospects as well, as I mentioned before. Now, what does the general manager do? Does he talk to the people, to the middle management? Not really, because if they would do so, this is more of a leadership thing than a management thing. If a manager would keep bugging his pesky little nose in the operations themselves, this would disempower the middle management. They're supposed to have decision power and they're supposed to have critical thinking and discernment. And as soon as you get into their operations and what it is they do day to day, You kind of strip them bare of their own autonomy. And that's not okay because every time they have some lack of clarity, then they're going to be calling you up. Don't, if you're a general manager, don't butt into all this stuff. And trust me, I know because I have run to the ground one 8 year long business because I thought that's what a manager should do. Should butt into all the operations and even do it. You really got to trust me on this because if you're one of these people who is a control freak and who doesn't really know how to delegate and who thinks that tasks can be done faster if they're done by you as the manager than by just waiting for somebody to do the task, you're very wrong. You're going to run that thing to the ground. Anyway, I have drawn here some relationship lines. So, like I said, the general manager does not talk to the middle management, but looks at the process between them. And this is the 21st century. We have all the tools necessary to monitor these things without talking to the people. Of course, we can talk to the people, like, we're not supposed to be faceless managers and stuff, but you just look into the numbers before asking any questions in order to ask the correct question. After that, the more interesting thing is the discussion with the board. Here's what happened. Here's how far along we are with our KPIs. And the board then they makes decisions and say, okay, things are going well on that side, but they're not going very well on this side. So we have a lot of sales, but some people are complaining about the fulfillment. What can we do? And the general manager looks and sees, okay, so they're paying for top product, but they're not as satisfied. Where's the issue? That's when a general manager, if he's good, should already have some auditing tools. And I'm not referring to like financial audits and like with spreadsheets and stuff. Some of them actually have spreadsheets, but I'm referring to the critical tools necessary. I'm a fan of the Six Sigma system. This has been developed in the 1980s, and I think it has been refined over the years so much, and people kind of forgot about it, and they're kind of reinventing the wheel all the time. Just look to our forefathers, the business owners in the 1980s, the crazy 80s, and you will see there all the tools necessary for somebody to properly manage and lead a company. Now, what are the responsibilities of these guys sitting at a table? Well, these guys are in direct relationship to their own money. And like, in order to make money, you have to spend money, but you have to spend it kind of wisely. And what they can do is they can attract outside funds. They can do this either through equity by selling parts of their company, or public, go on public with an IPO, or and then with stocks on a stock market. They can also finance the business through debt. They can go to a bank for a loan, or they can go to some other guys for some private loans with interest, with all the conditions necessary, and most importantly, with a specified time frame for debt collection. This is scalable because it's modular. You can have a bigger sales team. You can have, if you have complex financial tools, you can have more people on finance. If you have a complex product ecosystem, you can have more guys here. And if you really want to go big on the marketing, you can have more guys here. Or, of course, you can outsource part of it, like the media buying, the ads, for example. They can be outsourced. Anyway, this is most of the time a utopia. And we're supposed to achieve this utopia if we want to sell the business. Let's move on to a less utopic situation. Example number 2. My wife can do the marketing. This is the case of some people. We're going to start with the board because this is where it all starts. Some people getting together saying, one of them saying, guys, I have this awesome idea. We have all the government incentives to start a sustainable energy business here in this country. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for us to start doing business. Do you guys want in? Yeah, bro, I want in. Okay, well, I'm selling shares of the company. If you want 10%, it's 100K. If you want 50%, it's 500,000, and so on. And some of these guys are interested because they might offer key roles in the business as well. But let's not get into that yet. Let's talk about the relationships in this company. This is an example of a bootstrap company with private investment. Again, the relationship with the general manager is the board gives the numbers, the current and the desired, and the manager gives the narrative. What's going on? Here you can see that the manager is also part of the board. This is something that I see in American companies where many times the head of board is also the general manager of the operations. But in Europe, in state owned companies, you're not really allowed to do that because there has to be a complete distinction, especially for state owned companies, of the people making the general manager accountable. Like the board decides what's best for all shareholders, and they talk to the general manager and go, "Hey, what's up? What you doing with that money? What you doing with the revenue?" And if one of the board members is also general manager, there's going to be an extra emotional dimension to all of these discussions. If everybody thinks they're sanitized and have a healthy mindset and healthy books, then fine, go to it. But there's a reason why European state owned companies have this, and it's to mitigate corruption, basically. Now, let's look at this. There's some potential customers. Like I said, the wife can do the marketing, but most of the time the wife thinks that sales and marketing are the same thing, and so that's what she does. She starts an Instagram account, she starts filming the happy customers, she starts running ads, and people come and go, I want one, and she maybe closes those. Maybe she has like one or two closers that are paid on commission. And then after the customer goes through the wife pipeline, sorry about that, then they go to fulfillment, to somebody who's like more techie. What happens is when you mix sales and marketing, what do you think is going to happen? So like obviously the main purpose of the business is to make more money for everybody. And so the wife is going to be focused on how to make the product more sellable, but she's going to completely forget about something very important and very valuable, which is the feedback. She's not going to have any time to look at the market, to do a little research, to think about the ideal customer persona, and to then provide a proper narrative. She's going to go and, like, hey, we have a summer offer. Hey, for the first 10 people that come this week, we're going to give an offer and stuff like that, which, is swell, but it ends up costing a lot of money when you talk to a lot of people in very different ways. That's why we have a customer persona. And this, together with the fact that we have advanced AI tools for targeting, which you can see here in the video that I've made about online ads and AI, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Anyway, let's move on to the next example. Somebody bought a business. So, this is a situation in which some guys made a business and then they kind of wanted out of the business. The business is going very well, but they just don't want to do it anymore. So they just straight up buy it to somebody who has like a strategic vision with this business. Like, let's say the business, the subject is a media company or like some sort of media outlet. And the guys who bought the business have other businesses that could advertise for free on this on these platforms. And so they think they did a strategic acquisition and, like, all right, cool, we have control over this. Awesome. We're going to get some of this revenue. We're going to lower our ad prices. It's going to be great. But what happens is one of the guys converts into a general manager because they already bought in the business. And so, like, they're negative 5 figures, if not 6 figures. And so they kind of want to run it really lean. Like, it's fine. I'll do the managing. I'll do the finances. I'll do the marketing. No problem. And then we make a little more money. Then we'll hire some people. I promise. The worst case scenario is when, and also very plausible, is when they see that things aren't going that well and that profitable as they were expecting, because they thought that when they do a buy-in, they will immediately see results in profit sharing. I want to help with tech, with the fulfillment. I want to help with B2C sales. I know a guy. I know a guy that can help us with this. I know a guy. And it just becomes a huge clusterfuck. I don't have to say the number of bottlenecks for this. There's a bottleneck in the sales. There's a bottleneck in the marketing and the feedback provided. There's going to be bottlenecks here in fulfillment because there's only like one person, because they're trying to keep it lean, these guys. So they only have like one or two people who are actually working on the fulfillment, and some other guy who thinks he knows marketing because he watches Gary Vee every day. This business will die because the guys who acquired it don't really know the nature of the business because they have other businesses. And nobody knows how to look at the data, at the analytics to see what's going well, what's not going well. In the meantime, this person in charge of fulfillment is just like putting out fires continuously. But so is this guy, who is probably the only guy who has the one time password on his phone for the finances for this company. Don't be like these guys. Moving on to the next example, the garage bootstrap. So, the garage, I'm coming here. The garage bootstrap is something that most of you are probably already doing. Maybe it started as a side hustle, or maybe you just 20 three, and you want to start a business. And you have your best friend, and you go like, two guys with a dream of producing the best burger in town. Or I don't know, some software shit. And they go like, cool. I can do the tech and the finance because I'm the numbers guy. And the other one is like, cool, I'll do the sales and marketing because I ran some Instagram accounts when I was a teenager. Needless to say, there's many bottlenecks that occur here. And sooner or later, this friendship is going to go to shit. When there's only two people who are also the owners of the business, of course their judgment is going to be skewed. They're going to be biased. At one point, one of them decides we need some outside funding. We can't bootstrap this only with customer clients and the savings that we have. And then some other guy comes in and goes, cool, I'll lend you the money or I'll buy some percentage. And then this other guy would be in charge basically of some further financing, which is either private equity, getting some other bros to buy some parts of the business, or debt, going to banks, negotiating for a lower interest fee, or private loans from people like, bro, give me 10K, I'll give you 12K next year, and it's guaranteed by, I don't know, something. We can't talk about stocks in this case. And the major liability of this business is that this isn't really a good time for these guys to dissolve because they don't have proper decision making in place. And as soon as some other guys are going to come here and sit at this table, they will also have the right to make decisions. But they're sitting at the table with tech bro in charge of fulfillment and sales and marketing guy. Everybody has way too much emotional ties to what's going on. This will also go to shit. Moving on to the next example. This is probably something that you've seen online many, many times. It's creator centric, in which the manager himself, maybe, is also in charge with fulfillment because these customers are making the purchase because they want to buy from that guy to be together with that guy and get some coaching or some consultancy or some one on one. But like there's a heavy emotional connection with the founder of the business. So, what we have here is something that is sales and marketing heavy because ultimately the guy is just selling his brains, he's selling his time, his brains. He's like being paid to be your best friend. The people come in, they're like, oh, cool, I want to opt in and talk to a setter. Setter asks, do you have the money? Is now a good time? Cool. This is going to be the best thing you've ever done with your entire life. And they go like, cool, let's talk to some salespeople. The salespeople present the options, low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket, benefits. Are you going to give me the money? Well, I only have half of it now. All right, then it's going to be monthly installments. For example, that's part of the sales process. And then they go into the fulfillment and they start talking to the guy they saw on YouTube. They either choose to stay, paying a monthly fee, of course, benefiting for some 50% off offers if they renew their subscription immediately, or they go on their merry way and churn. During this time, the fulfillment, who is also the manager, has access to some very valuable information regarding these people's activities, their desires, their needs, how to solve their problems, and of course, what problems they have. And these go into the marketing machine, which then translates via media or copywriting all of these guys' transformations to some new prospects. And this is what is considered lean. I like it, it's not bad. If we were to introduce some outside funding, because this is also bootstrapped, what would happen? Well, this guy would have a responsibility to report to some shareholders directly or indirectly through a secretary. And they would provide the numbers. Like we see this is the potential for growth and everything, and we want this and this. These are the objectives that we're looking for, because maybe they want to prepare the company for, like, I don't know, private equity. They want it to be part of a greater ecosystem. Think Alex Hormozy and his huge private equity firm that has brick and mortar, supplements, coaching. Is beautiful. It's everything you'll ever need regarding health and fitness. Anyway, back to these guys. These guys are gonna start having opinions, and it's their right because they're pouring some money into this, and they want to get more money out of the money they're pouring into it. This guy has the option to, at one point, hire and train some other coaches to do fulfillment, and then he can completely remove himself from this if he chooses to. Pretty lean, sales focused. What's important to note about all of these examples is that the good ones have many entry points for revenue, and the bad ones don't. For example, if we go to my wife can do marketing, there's not many entry points for the money. You gotta dig your ditches for the rain in the desert, like in that biblical story. Money's not gonna come to you if it doesn't have a doorway to come in through. You kind of have to do this stuff ever since the beginning of your business. Not like these guys. Because what makes a company successful and not go bankrupt in the first 3 years like all 90% of them do is money, is cash flow. So you're going to need outside funding. You're going to have to take care of the shareholders. And that means you kind of have to loosen the grip on your business to focus on what you can do specifically. And if you can't do that properly, hire someone to do that. Trust me, I know. All right. We have one more example. We have the Palantir example, which is basically this lovely B2C fulfillment of software in this case. And we have some pretty high ticket customers that go to the sales team and then do the payment and then go through the fulfillment. Here, I guess we can say that the tech part is more important than the sales part, because the marketing part is very important as well. And in this case, marketing is also given by the board, as in who invested in this business and how well it's doing on the stock market. But we have this new guy, corporate. Let's say Lockheed Martin wants to buy some of your stuff. They're not going to go and talk to a sales rep. They're going to want to talk to you. So that's why, in this case, if you have the possibility of fulfilling big corporate contracts and you wish to do so, you as a manager have to be able to handle the corporate sales directly because they're going to want to speak to you. They're not going to want to speak to Karen from sales. And this is what true leadership means. True leadership means trust building. We've discussed different types of management, but we haven't discussed different types of leadership. Well, maybe a little in the beginning when I said that middle management should be empowered to make their own decisions because they're not going to be wrong. Nobody's right. All we can do is look at the data, be humble, and be comfortable with always optimizing. Leadership, however, is building trust with your partners, growing that trust, and taking care of those relationships for them to flourish, and then leveraging those relationships with other people to furthermore build trust. If you stuck around for so long here till the end, thank you. And if you want to build trust in 2025, you might want to look into the digital footprint that you are already leaving all around the internet with your business activities. And if you don't know what that is, first of all, I can tell you it's not a personal brand. And second of all, I encourage you to watch this video to see how exactly it differs from a personal brand and why your business needs a digital footprint and not a personal brand.